Stroke lines, and I'm going to walk you through what I automated this week. Mostly, I was working on one web scraping project, which I was trying to avoid actually using IE for the web scraping. I was trying to use a WinHttpRequest, so it's more closely to his API interface because there's no GUI. What I was going for, and I discovered some interesting stuff. So I'm not going to get into necessarily the code, but I'm going to explain also how I figured out how to work around a lot of the stuff. So let me start off here. So I was trying to get the probate records basically from my county and automate getting to them. And if I come actually here, this is the link that has probates in it. And let me see, what's the best way? First, I'll demonstrate this, but it's gonna give me a cookie, and I'd rather, that's what I'm trying to, anyway, I'll figure it out. So what first off was interesting was if I take this URL, like if I go back one, right, I'm on this page, and then if I click this, I get this URL, right? Well, I'm like, oh, I'll just start here. This is the search page, right? So what if I take this URL and let me open it in another browser? So I'll use Firefox here. I'm going to paste it in, and now watch what happens. That should load that page, right? Well, it doesn't. It loads the previous page. And basically that I was like, oh, okay, there must be cookies or something going on to keep track of that you've actually hit that first page. And then it needed the cookies to make sure that you have hit the first page and then you went to the second page. Why they would do that, I have no idea. Especially there's nothing here. It's all public information too. But I'm like, okay, but let's just say I still used IE to get the first page, and just navigate to this page, and let me put in a search. So I made a little hot string to pop in these for me because IE doesn't remember what you've submitted here, and I'm going to hit search, and then here are a bunch of the probate. Actually, these aren't necessarily all probate. Some of them are, some of them aren't. I figured out a workaround for that. But for now, it doesn't really matter. So notice this URL, see in my status bar. So I'm going to copy this, copy shortcut. And I'm going to come into Firefox here also, and I'm going to paste it. And then that gives me an error, right? And I'm like, oh, crap. Okay, I'm going to need to get the cookie and then feed that cookie even to that second page. And so there was no workaround for me. I'm like, okay, I'm going to need to have that cookie because what my plan was to basically automate getting each of these links and getting the HTML from that page. Because when you go to it, you'll see it's straight up HTML. It's not very well defined, meaning there's not a lot of IDs and names, but they're in a table and I can grab certain info, right? So that it's going to be a little more difficult, but it's plain text. It loads really fast, which is great. But I'm like, okay, so how am I going to do this? And I was researching on a post, and people talked about using WinHttpRequest and getting cookies. And there was one post in particular that talked about, well, they couldn't really find a workaround for it, so they basically got to the first page with IE. Actually, I should have had it in my script here. This is my web scraping example here, but let me see if I can remember. So first I need to get a pointer to that, and then I think it's I'll put in a message box pwb.document. I can't remember if it's cookie or cookies. We'll try it and find out, right? So let's see now. This should, because I'm on this page, right? I should have cookies that haven't expired yet. I'm gonna launch this and run it. No, so it's not that. Let me try that. Cookie. So, and here's one thing. It just gets one cookie. Actually, it gets all of them, I think, concatenated together. Now that I remember right. But this is the cookie that I could then feed to this WinHttpRequest. But I'd always have to have the IE window, and also these time out. So after, I can't remember the exact time, but it's after, like, let's say less than 5 minutes, they time out. And that would mean I'd have to keep going back to my browser and getting a new cookie. And I really didn't want to do that. So I not on the forum. I was reading someplace else of to look at your network traffic of what's actually happening. Now let me see. Is there a way I can contact log out? Let me see what happens if I log out. Maybe that will hopefully have deleted my cookies. And let's give this a try. So I'm going to open Fiddler. Fiddler is a great tool for tracking your network traffic and seeing what's actually happening and what actually gets submitted, and so you can try to mirror what gets submitted, and it's really helped me. And the more I play with it, the better I understand what in the world I'm doing. I'm gonna narrow this down to just this instance of IE. So see right here, I dragged that on the IE. Now it's only monitoring network traffic from this browser. And now, hopefully when I click this link, we'll look. So there was this first request, and notice there's no cookie. If there was a cookie sent, you'd see it in here. So there was no cookie sent. This is the top part is what's sent, the bottom part is what's received from that. Basically, it's an API call, right? Your browser's doing API calls to a server, returns it back, you use HTML, and presents it. Like, actually, I can click this web view and see, oh, in this case, I can't. Oh, because this wasn't actually, this is what I realized was there was a redirect going on. It would go to it, but then it would return back a different URL to then go hit. And that's what the second one, the second one here. Oh, shoot. All right, so I'm just looking at the wrong one entirely. Negate everything I just said. Unfortunately, this one kept track. It still had that I had my cookies in it. So let's use, I've done this in Chrome. It doesn't matter, right, which one you're using. Although I do have to tell Fiddler to monitor the Chrome traffic instead of IE traffic. Although that's going to, you know what, can I close Hangouts without, just because it adds a lot of, anyway, we won't worry about it. All right, so now it's monitoring Chrome. I have a bookmark somewhere in here. Denton County. Okay, so here's a 4.0, interesting. So see here, this justice, here we go. So this was the very first one, right? It went here. It did a post request, by the way. Damn it. Apparently I was already logged in there as well. I could blank out all my cookies, but that would suck because I you know, it's really weird in Chrome. Let me show you this if you don't know. You should be able to blank out all of your cookies. However, let me go back and make sure. Yeah, 302. Oh, that was the 302. All right, so this was the first one. Oh, let's send a cookie. The 302 is the redirect, and that's what I discovered was there was actually a redirect going on. You know what? Also, I did in Chrome. You can do it in IE too, but I find Chrome better at displaying it. You can look at the network traffic. I don't think the logging out's going to help. Let's clear all that, and then here's the probate one. So unfortunately, it still has the cookie. And I'll show you here, like, I think I can leave that open. Let me go to where's the settings? Maybe I can't. How do I get to this? Settings. And cookies. And what's weird is normally in Chrome, you can delete specific cookies. And specific cookies, I can come here and say, see all cookies and site data, and I can type in here, but every time I was typing in here, Chrome was crashing. So my thing is, I don't know if it's under Justice 1 or Denton County, but I think it's going to crash. So yeah, see, and then it crashed. Really sucks. So I don't know what's going on with Chrome, but it doesn't like that at the moment. The good thing is maybe by now with IE, maybe by now the cookie has expired. And we can test this basically by coming in here, put in this, do it. Now, if this redirects me back, you know what, before I do that, let me bring this back to monitoring IE traffic. Sorry if this is all confusing, but it was, I wanted to be able to show something up front, and I can't pause on OBS to just wait for the timer to go out. I'd have to merge the files together, which isn't hard with FFmpeg. But let me go ahead and do this search, and if the cookie's not good anymore, oh, the cookie's still good, unfortunately, but because I don't think in IE you can't delete specific cookies. So let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and stop this and then merge them together. So I didn't actually wait for the cookie to expire, but I thought up a way I can browse in incognito, and in incognito it shouldn't keep track of my cookie from the other session. So let me go back. I'm gonna come here. Now I got to go back to Fiddler. Tell Fiddler now to track Chrome. You know what? And let's see if I can see the network traffic in here. It's a little easier because it stays on the same page at the same time. So there's no network traffic because I haven't navigated anywhere yet. And now I'm going to click my Denton County. And so this is what I want to show you, right? So this first page, it was a get method, but see this 302? That's a redirect, right? And here I can click on it on this thing, and it's going to show me it navigated here. It was a get request. The status, the code returned was a 302, which means it wasn't found, and it's a redirect. And it returned. See this URL here, and this return equals %2 public access. The %2 F is a backslash. And so an ID and all this stuff, right? So that is where the server redirected my Chrome instance. It went to that URL, and that's what this next one is. So see, you can see here, actually we can see it better here. So then it said, after it came here, it redirected it to this one. This one came in as, looks like also, does it say get somewhere? I thought it was, these are gets, and then there's a post later, but I think the next one's a post. This one returned back, see them in the response headers? This has my cookie I need. And so this is where I need to get this cookie. And then I take the cookie, and then I can feed it to the next request, which is actually the page on where that we ended up landing on. And so that was what I had to do. Now let's go into let's turn off getting the cookie from the browser. I'm gonna go ahead now. We're gonna switch over. Let me delete all this, and let's see. So this is, you know what? Let me move that up one just so we see it. So this is the initial one where we're going to that login page, but we're not actually logged in. And in this case, it's gonna return back stuff. But you'll see here in the debug window, I take all the headers. Let me launch it and run it. Now notice these are all the headers, right? And also, which I'll explain here once we have some cookies, to that there's nothing getting parsed out, right? So it doesn't, you could look in the body, but it's not there. It's actually in the headers. And this is what I found in the forum, was people said, I don't know how to get the headers, the cookies for WInhttpRequest because they weren't in the headers, and that's where they should have been. And what I realized was, again, that redirect that was happening, this WInhttpRequest doesn't actually follow that, right? It does the first one, but it doesn't do the follow-up ones. And it doesn't actually, actually it does do the follow-up ones, but it doesn't show you, it doesn't pass along the right info. So when you add this option 6 to your WInhttpRequest, it prevents the redirect, right? So when we do this, I think maybe it's not in the headers, maybe I do need the body here. We'll go ahead and run it first. I'm gonna save it, reload it, and run it. Oh, and actually, that actually got me my cookies. So by adding this, it prevented that redirect, and then the cookies came back in the headers, and that's where I looped. These are all the headers. I just did a regular expression here. I did a stir split off of every line break and said if the beginning part, so initially I had it look for the set cookie part. This part, but after testing, I realized this first and second one I don't need. It's this last one, and notice this date here, October of 1999. Maybe they were a big Prince fan. I don't know, but in this last one, this really long one, on the far right, you'll see it has today's date, right? So January 11th, and so I basically say if in that row you see the 11th of January in this year, right, then go ahead and grab what's to the right of it and store it in the cookies, which actually I should say cookie because I think it's just one. And then that is what I end up taking and putting into my WInhttpRequest request to the actual page. Let's go back one here to this page. And then this page, I can automate, okay, you know what, why don't I go ahead and dive into this a little bit because it was ridiculously confusing. And actually, I'll bet you money that the cookie is now expired on this one, but we'll give it a try here. And let me make sure Fiddler. Oh, good, Fiddler. I'm on IE, right? Yeah. Fiddler's not tracking traffic right now. But now it will. All right, here we go. Search. Oh, so the cookie hadn't expired. Great. But in this request, I should have cleared it all first, right? It would have been. Actually, you know what? Let's do that just to remove all. Stupid form. When you go back, you got to redo. That's why I made that hot string. I actually automated the page too. But all right. So now we look at here. So this is a post request, right? From that, the search page is a post request. Make sure you capitalize post when you put it in there. Notice this is the cookie that was submitted. Great. We've figured that part all out, right? But what was interesting was when you look under the web form, so this is the body, right? This is what's in the body, or the payload, it's also called. And it's form data, I believe, right? And that basically, it's mimicking a form submitted by a browser, right? And it's, I don't know how to explain it other than that's what I've read, right? It's form data. So I had a function that is supposed to create form data, and I've used it in other sites, and it's worked great. And I was submitting it here. Unfortunately, when I did that, and then it didn't work, and I'm like, well, what's going on? So I then actually, let me go back to here, and if you want, like, if I run this, let me tell Fiddler to monitor any process, right? I'm going to rerun my WinhttpRequest here, and notice I ran it, but there's no traffic here, right? So in AutoHotkey, if you want your traffic to show up in Fiddler, and I guess I got rid of it from. Oh, here we go. It's this. This is now the first line isn't needed, but that's what I use. It only applies it if Fiddler is there, because I think if it's not there, then it doesn't work. So if Fiddler exists, set the proxy to 2, and the local host to 8888, which is what Fiddler is listening to. And that way, it'll go through Fiddler. It's the best way I can explain, because I really don't know what the hell I'm doing. But now when I reload this and run it, let me try this again. Come on. Did I not save it? Oh, I didn't save it. If you saw, there was an asterisk up here. Save it, reload it. Let me clear all this out. Now when I run it, oh, for the love of God. What? Let me just close Fiddler and restart it. It should have worked fine. Fiddler 4. Why is this not working? Let me exit this one. Maybe I'm. Launched it. Run. Why is that not working? This works. I mean, obviously, this is how I tracked all my. So, let's just go ahead and get rid of, maybe for whatever reason it's not seeing that. Oops. So set proxy. Okay. 2. That is so weird. This has been working fine. Oh, that's interesting. Why that's weird. There we go. I don't know why. I had set any process up here, but down here I noticed it said web browsers. I don't know, a little bug in Fiddler apparently, or maybe I screwed something up. I don't know. But see, now I can see that this was my AutoHotkey request and what actually was done when I was trying to submit. Let me get back into it, and I, of course, cleared it. I know this is somewhat confusing here. Let me go back in and do an actual request. And so now we look at here at the Chrome request. Where's the web forms? I guess it was this one. So see all this data for the body? When I was doing the one with AutoHotkey and I used my data, my form data function, this all looked very different, and that's why it wasn't working, right? So then what I did was I said, hey, all right, for a reason, how do I recreate this? Well, I looked at the text view and I just grabbed, this was the body, this was everything in there, and I copied that. Actually, let me go ahead. I'll copy it, and let me use cite for this one. It's a little, yeah, yeah, because I'm going to use my string in place. So this is a string, but I have a D encode and a parser. So I basically just parse that on the question mark and ampersands and put them on new lines, and then un-URL encoded it or decoded it. And so here you can see the data. And so this was actually what was being sent. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can take this and I can just write my AutoHotkey function. Let me go ahead and look at it so you can see what I did. It's in here. So I actually put it in its own function to the payload builder, and I can feed it like the start date, the end date, and the search by, which is a parameter I can put in for the name to bring back just probates. But so that's why I have, so here I can pass them into here. And then I basically URI encode it on the values. What I found out was these tildes, my URI encoder I normally use, wasn't encoding the tildes. And I think there was another character. The spaces, it was doing %20, which is a space. But for whatever reason, I realized in here, a space was a plus, which I know I see like Google uses the plus, but it had to be exactly how they have it. And so this was a painful process. That's why it took me, most of the week of just playing with and figuring it out. The other thing, I was going to say one other thing. Oh, the other thing that was really odd to me was I noticed in here, it has a lot of these values, and here's the date. And then in this date, in this parameter down here, they have repeated data. And I thought, okay, do I need it in both places? Well, what I did was, when we go into here, it needed the dates when I took these out of the top part, it would run, but it took a really long time for the query to work. And I had the dates down here. If I deleted anything from the search params, it just didn't work. But when I deleted some, this used to have, like, I'd say about 15 to 20 more lines. Not that it matters, but I found there were some I could delete, and because it had to do, let's look at here. There was stuff on the like the family and criminal stuff, date range for family, date range for civil. Those weren't relevant to me, but probate, which is what I'm looking for, I thought, I probably have to leave that. So I dropped out the things that were not related to my stuff. It just because I wanted to be simpler when I go look at this thing, that I don't have so many items in here to realize what I need to edit. And then I went back and said, hey, the search by, that was, which I wish I could have had it in here. I guess I could. No, because the way I'm looping over it, this is in the object. But that was a 0, if I remember right. Oh, didn't I put it up? Oh boy, I need to document it. The 0 was for, which I'm feeding it somewhere up in here. 0 is file name, and 6 was the date. And so if you change that, then it'll search by the date or by file name. And so I found out, by the way, just from playing, right, let me go back to here, was, see all these C18s and D16 and D18? Wow, maybe I even clicked the wrong one. Oh, here we go, PR 2018, right? So let me go back. What I realized, because I saw something about wildcards, and I said, you know what, let me do case number, and it looked like PR-2018 star, and now, actually I wanted, no, I did want that, darn it. And actually the PR doesn't work. You needed more characters. PR-2018 star, and of course I changed it for 2019. And let's still do December to the end of December. Now, when I do this search, you'll see these are all probate ones. And so I realized, you know what? I want to include that as the parameters of my query. And so that I went back into Fiddler and said, oh, well, what is the actual form data. Let me go down here, and hopefully it's maybe this one. So notice it here, case search value. It's right here, and then it was also in this one down here. But so I changed that to the 2018, and notice also like the dates are repeated. I just don't understand. There's a lot of stuff in this the form data that seems repeated or unneeded. But when I changed it to PR 2018, when I only changed that, it didn't work. I had to go back and realize, case status, that wasn't it. There was one that was the search by. The search by had changed, I think, from a 6 to a 1. Actually, let's see if I can justice. I'm trying to look for another one that was like that, but why are they? That's interesting. I would have thought they would have been like the same thing. The problem is right now with Chrome is with Fiddler, it's tracking all of Chrome's traffic, which also has my Hangouts that are going and other crap, and that's why I like Fiddler a lot, but sometimes just using the tools inside Chrome are a little easier because you can focus just on that little bit. But anyway, I think you get the idea. This was a painful process, but my next one, let me go ahead and show in here, is and I think I did it to the top one first. Or maybe I haven't brought it into this one, or maybe I put it at the bottom. So here, by the way, what I'm doing is I take my data. I was actually saving it and viewing it, but I store it in, where is it? Here we go, in a variable called HTML, and then I take the HTML and I create a COM object for the HTML file, that's just a file that you can load a file, like a local file, but I'll actually do it from memory when I'm done with this. I won't be saving the files. And I write it, and I basically create a DOM structure that allows me to loop over it. So then my pointer is actually to document instead of PWB, because I'm literally connecting right to the document, and which this is not a keyword, right? I could make doc, I could put doc here, and then change these to docs down here. It doesn't matter, whatever you want. In this one too. But I loop over all of the hyperlinks on that first one and get where it says case detail, and so that's the case ID number, and that gives me all the links to all the cases. And then I'll go in the next one and say, okay, now go pull all that HTML and grab just the fields I want, which is like the who it was from, the address, the attorney that was involved, and the dates, and then add that to my database. I'll add it to my SQL database. So I start building this big database of people who've gone through probate, and then we're basically trying to help them sell their home if that's what they want to do. Anyway, I know this was kind of all over the place, but it was quite a week in confusion. But in the long run, I'm really glad I worked through this, because now as I do this next time, it'll be much easier for me to start working through. I'm not done. The other thing actually I'm hoping I can do, which I'll test, is I'll go through and first maybe just store, actually, this I think should run here. Let me exit this. And I'm going to go ahead and run this. And this one I think, do I have obviously I have a return up here somewhere. And cookies. Huh. Did Denton post, is that what's running? I don't see, let me see where where I was going to show you was so 57. So it actually got to that. I must have messed something up. I was just going to show you how the hyperlinks look. You know what, let's do this to see if it ran. So this is a nice, all right, I stopped reading it into memory from the file. That's fine. I was just playing with that. I'm gonna, I didn't, so I got rid of saving it as HTML. Oops. File append, HTML, percent. HTML percent, comma, file name, test.html, and then I'm going to run it. Let's see what that's actually pulling back. This is just an easier way than trying to view the HTML. Oh, so the search did work. my query, my initial part to get the cookies ran fine. That was no problem. It went and got these. But for whatever reason, on the last one, I messed something up here. Where document HTML. That is HTML. Document links. Let's do this. Let's see what the length of this is. So this is a good example of how you can troubleshoot. I'm gonna see the lengths of all the. So there's 128 links. Great, that's working fine. I don't need to run that anymore, so I'm gonna stop doing those. So the links are working fine. That's working fine. Links length. Document. Oh, duh. Okay. I'm not showing it. So I'm storing all of them in this OBJ. I just need to dump, come on, that object. Oh, look at that. This actually is OBJ. So I don't even have to do anything. So I'll rerun this, get rid of this pause. Now the output and the debug part, this is going to show me all of the hyperlinks. And I don't think I saved it. Save, reload, run. And there are none. That's just wonderful. OBJ, you know what? And it's funny because I normally have OBJ created as an object. There we go. So here are the base links. But what I'll do is I'll study the this format, like when I actually navigate here. No hurry. So see, there we go. The cookie timed out, right? And so now I have to go get another cookie. I can't just navigate to it. Let me see if it's, here's one here. This is probably the same. Oh, that was the file that was ripped, so that won't work. This one, and this is the one. So we'll go back in here. This is why it's just been a painstaking, work. But now, all right, so this part, I'll take this and the case ID, and here's the ID number, right? So what dawned on me was, so I have the case ID, right? And basically, I'm not sure if I can paste. No, I can't paste in that window. I don't know why those went away. But what I'll do is I'll take all those, I'll prepend this to it. What my hopes are is, hey, maybe I can just store all of these IDs, and then maybe the cookie isn't tied to that actual query where that came up. And all I would have to do is to get a list of all the IDs I want to do, just go through page after page, store them all, dedupe them all, and then go through and say, okay, now get a cookie and navigate, not actually navigate, but use the WInhttpRequest to go grab each one of those and read the HTML and store it. And that way I like moving things all together. It'll also help with the redundancy issue of, I'm not sure if I do a search, like let's say January 1st to 7th, and then the 8th to the 15th, I got to assume there's actually a lot of overlap in that if something's transpired in the account and or changed in the status of it, that there's an update there, and I don't need to keep hitting these things over and over and over. And by first getting a list of all of the cases I want to look at, and then going and saying, okay, now dedupe that list by the IDs, and then just go through and just ping them once, it'll greatly simplify the amount of API calls I have to do to go pull that data. Anyway, all right. The other one I did, by the way, was I was working on one, like a unfollow in LinkedIn was an unfriend. And I had, at one point, I had nearly 5,000 friends in Facebook. And I was realizing I had just been adding people like crazy, thinking I could actually automate texting them and, within Facebook. And then they severely block what you can do. So I scroll down to the bottom of they thankfully sort them, in a priority of like how much you interact with them. And so after a certain level, I noticed, here are a bunch of people I just don't know. Right. And so I was going to automate clicking the unfriend. Let me, so it's interesting because it was a little different than in LinkedIn. You can just click like unfollow. In Facebook, which maybe it'll come up and say, I can't do it. Why am I not logged into Facebook? Oh, I'm in the incognito version, and so it didn't recognize me. So I'll come in here, and now if I try to go to my friends, it said earlier, it's like, it looks like you've clicked this way too many times, you've tried to automate, I don't know if it said automate, but try to do something. So we're disabling the function for a while. Where are my friends? That sounds kind of sad. So friends, so now I'm down to 1,200. And what was interesting, and so I'll just show you here. So here's a friend of mine from grade school. So you have to first click friends and then click unfriend. And so it's different in that you have to first bring up this menu. Actually, I could look at the network traffic and just see if I could automate that. But I was adapting my other script to first click here, wait for this, wait a second, and then find unfriend and click it. And so after I was scroll down to a place where I don't recognize people, and then just start paging down, because theoretically almost everyone beneath a certain level aren't going to be people that I'm actually really friends with. So that's been it. I know that was a wild ride. Sorry about that, but I'll talk to you next week, I guess. Bye.